Yes, hello, folks. Welcome to the weekly Manchester United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Phil Brand, joined with my regular co-host, the excellent James Rhodes, on this Monday morning, of course, after the 2-2 with Forest. Lots to talk about today. We'll talk about, obviously, everything that happened in that game, the fallout from that game, the response to it, other United-related news as well. But before that, I hope you all had a nice weekend. How about you, Jamesy?
Yeah, pretty good. Not bad. Halloween was Friday night, so taking get out trick or treating and it being not a school night was kind of felt much better for me anyway. Getting to sleep and then getting that extra hour as well over the weekend because there's been some rough ones with that. So yeah, all in all, it was a pretty good weekend. I feel the hour change, the nice fall switch is good for the sleep. I think I feel more rested.
It's
It's up
funny,
early.
the older you get, the more value you place on sleep. You know,
Yeah.
if I had a perfect weekend away, it would just be at least one day where I can sleep all day and not
Oh
get
yeah. Without even thinking about it. Yeah.
rackets every day, carnage in my house every day, and it's like this is
Yeah.
just one day of being able to sleep.
Yep.
It was my birthday this weekend, so I turned 49 yesterday.
Yes, a
And,
belated happy birthday.
thank you, mate.
Yes.
My 6-year-old daughter gets up. She made me 3 cards, by the way.
Oh,
All of it.
nice. Okay.
Dad, I love you. And one I most amazed, she took all her Halloween candy and wrapped each one of them individually and gave them to me as a present for my birthday. Man, I'm not joking. Like, yeah, at a time when I needed that, for
Yeah.
something like that was, yeah,
Kids, when they get it right, it means a lot. It means a lot. It means a lot.
I needed that time. You
Yep.
know, it was
Yep.
anyway. Sorry. So I had a
Good.
nice weekend.
Yes.
Thank God, my kids, amazing. You know, very fortunate. But obviously the Forest game, I didn't see the second half the way I would have liked. This second half, my daughter was playing, so I was watching on my phone. So you know how that is. So my
Yes.
assessment of the second half, I'm going to have to rely completely on yourself. I've seen obviously the key parts of it, but give me your thoughts on the game of the weekend.
It was for me just not one to necessarily dwell on. Like, it wasn't a great game for sure. Obviously, didn't get the win away. Conceded a few goals in really kind of very sloppy fashion. 92 seconds. It wasn't terrible either, and it sort of it was a bit of a reminder, I think, in a way of in terms of the performance of like in some ways, I think it shows that there is progress when you have some of the downs because you're not going to win every single game. It's not always going to be up. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be. We knew we were going to lose and draw some games here and there, but when the collapses or the downs or the off games aren't so bad anymore, it could have easily gone like Brentford. Very easily, it could have gone. I very much agree with what Ruben Amorim said when he said last season we would have probably lost 4-1. You know, after conceding those 2 goals, it would have just spiraled into disaster. And they kind of pull it back up. You know, it's just like one of those graphs, like you go up and then you go down, but it's not as down as it was before, and then you go up a little bit more, and it keeps kind of rising, you know, in the right way. And that's kind of how I felt about the game, that that was our off game. Could have been a lot worse, and there's many times it's been a lot worse, and our off game being not so bad for me was a bit of an improvement. Some of old habits. I mean, look, it's the same 11 that played against Brighton. They didn't play as well, just individually across the board. I think didn't play as well. That's the primary factor in this. Nothing too crazy out of the ordinary happened. I do want to get to talking about the subs or lack thereof, especially after what we saw against Brighton. That's kind of explain that. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. It was just okay, you know, like you kind of accept that's a down game and move on type of
Well,
game.
to me, James, like we were saying before, you know, you have to flatten the performance variable curve, right? Like you can't
Yep.
have one game where you're exceptional and then go out the next week and look horrendous because the second game negates the first game. You
Yep.
have to have consistency where, okay, we can start to trust this team. We know what their bottom is. We know what we're not going to get. And that is something we haven't been able to say for a long time because 2 games never looked like each other back to back. when United were winning the last 3 games, no one believed that meant they're now invincible and they won't lose again or they won't draw again. And to me, a draw away to Forest, you want to win, but that's not a result that to me interrupts progress or momentum.
Right.
That's a decent point on the road. They had a 5-minute period in the second half. They gave 2 bad goals away, admittedly.
Yep.
But look, James, United have scored pivotal goals late in the last few games. Pivotal goal against Liverpool late, pivotal goal against Brighton late, pivotal goal against Forest late.
Yep.
We talked about how important it was to start well in games. We started well at Liverpool. We started well against Brighton. So there's lots of positives. And we're talking about, a goal line clearance in the 93rd minute where we could be talking about another 3 points, 3 goals away from home. We scored 2, obviously, but that goes in. The margins are tiny. I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed at all, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's exactly that. It's like they have the chances to win. Like you say, the goal line clearance. It was, again, a similar thing that is encouraging, even though we didn't get the win. Like you say there, like draw against Liverpool score, United go back up and score and win the game. Brighton, the collapse begins, and then they turn it around and go score again. Forest, there's like a problem. They sort it out. They get back in control of the game. And then from that point, they had the better chances to win. They get the level, and then they have, Bruno hits the post. Casemiro misses a chance there. Ahmad goal line clearance. They had the chances to win that game as well. So you can see it's turning in the way that it needs to, where you can look at it and go, yeah, there's something better here, flattening these performance curves where disaster isn't like constantly a moment away and then they can't recover from it. They're pulling up from those moments in time. And I think to a degree, that's also why he wrote out the same 11 in that point in time and didn't change much through the game, is to look at them and say, good, fix it, go figure it out. And to be fair, they played better. The same 11 got, there was a couple of little changes like Dorgu for Dalot, which we'll get to that side of it in a minute there. But the rest of them, the forwards, Ahmad, I think, had a poor first half. Really, he picked it up, scores an amazing goal in the second half, then has the goal line clearance. Like, that's what he was betting on there, is to say these same guys, I'm not just going to say, oh, have a bad game, get out of the team, someone else will come on, but have them pick their performances up through the second half of the game and improve. And most of them did, and could have had them the chance to win. So it's fun. I take that okay. It's very funny because United have no wins at Anfield in 10 years, 6 out of 7 losses against Brighton. They've lost the last 3 games to Forest before this. And now, I know, and now, oh God. And now 3 losses in a row to Forest. They get a good away, a point, and they're 10 out of the last 12 points on the table. It's good form, level on points with 4th or 5th place as it is. The league is a bit chaotic. Nobody's pulling away, and United are kind of where they need to be at this point. So,
well, let me ask you this, James. If any other top team in the Premier League went to Forest and drew 2 each, would you bat an eyelid?
No, you'd say, especially, Sean Dyche there and the adjustments that he's made, you'd say, yeah, it can happen. There's a type of game that can happen. You wouldn't think of it as like some horrendous thing, Yeah,
I mean, to me, Forest are not Luton. They're not a team where you expect to go. They're decent side. They beat Porto a week ago.
Yes.
And you knew Sean Dyche was going to test United in a different way. So it was being direct, but physical, but the second balls. Look at the possession stats based on the team that's winning the game. Right. So when United are in the lead, they're controlling possession. Once Forest go in the lead, they control possession. So I think United showed resilience. When we're looking for progress, I can see progress in that result. I can see something that gives me confidence going forward. I don't take anything from that result that raises questions or concerns. Everything that happened that was negative in that game, I expected. Or I knew that hadn't been addressed or removed from United's game.
It's a problem we haven't solved. Yeah.
Right. But there's definitely positives in that, James. We sat here before the Sunderland result talking about, Amorim's job being on the line, and this was insufferable, and whether everything that was going on inside United, whether this was reciprocal for Amorim, we don't know. But the last four games, 3 wins and a draw, I find it hard to believe that any United fan on today's media podcasts, whatever, are looking at Forest as a negative.
Agreed.
Yes.
What's that?
Sorry, mate. There's obviously negative things that happen, but to me, overall, it's not a negative.
Well, and that's the point. I think that's really the point of discussion is I think what it, we know that the team isn't fixed. We know that the team isn't 100%. We know that there are still issues, personnel wise, squad wise, balance wise. We know that. And what we saw was expected. And I think that's where it's getting important is that to a degree, we want predictability with the team. We want the team where when we watch them, we know what we're going to get. What we saw against Forest was predictable. And it's not that it's like that means it's okay because you can, predictably bad, but it was predictable that some of the things that weren't working are the things, week in and week out. We need more players. We need to solve that in the market. We just need to upgrade in these positions. We need time. Young players like Benjamin Šeško, 4th start in the league, something like that, didn't have his best game. We know that's going to happen from time to time as he's learning because he's been quite good for me until this game, and it was a tougher one. And so what? You know that you're going to have games like that when you're playing some young players in key positions. You know that you're going to have Lenny Oro still learning a bit in terms of things like box defending against very physical teams, when they're crossing the ball a lot. Those things are going to happen. And as well that left side is going to struggle until we sort out what's going on that left wing back position for the future. That's going to happen. So it's good in that we know the problems that exist are there. They're identified and they're showing up. It's not random new problems every single day popping up that are like, well, crap, who knows what the hell this team needs? It's pretty obvious what this team needs.
We've all been watching football long enough. Nobody needs to be told that 3 games does not mean that everything's great and United aren't going to lose or draw games. They're going to lose and draw games no matter what run of form they're in, no matter how good they are. That will never change. So, I mean, I've seen some commentary after this game. And honestly, of course, admittedly, in the heat of the moment, that's the hour after the game is the worst for any of us.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all prone to putting stuff out there that 2 years from now gets retweeted and you look like a dickhead, but it's in the heat of the moment. You get a more measured response after it. But I was reading some of the responses in the immediate aftermath, and there was obviously a lot of anger towards Diogo Dalot. I saw the goal, obviously, saw the replay, and of course, Ahmad for the first goal. We'll start with Ahmad because you see the positives and negatives with Ahmad in that position. Brilliant goal, fantastic goal. Came very close to winning the game, but the defensive frailties that you're going to get with a player that doesn't know how to defend, doesn't know how to sense danger, doesn't have the physical characteristics to defend in a certain way you'd want them to. And we saw the pros and cons of him in that position.
Yes, we did, and I think that it's a little bit of a strange one in that respect because you get like they're going to target it, and they were targeting it. They were constantly trying to cross back post on different sides and things like that. I think it's a type of thing where it's worth it if you can organize the defense properly, and I think that's where things were a little bit awkward. And we've seen this before where with 3 central defenders and a number 6 in there, ideally we don't end up in so many situations where your wingbacks who you want to be attacking are being asked to clear crosses inside their own box so much. And I think that's really the solution to it because it's very much it's a gamble, right? This is the risk reward you get of playing a player like Ahmad, who is an incredible attacker in one of those wingback roles. It's the same as you see with any team that plays wingbacks. It's a risk versus reward.
Mm-hmm.
If you get it wrong, that player's not a plus defender. That's not going to happen. Ahmad, I think, has done really well in open spaces, working hard on duels, things like that off the ball. But crossing it into the box is going to be the worst possible situation for him to deal with. So not that it's better on the other side, by the way, but still, ideally, and this is why he chooses Harry Maguire very often when he can, because you choose Harry in the middle, you push Dalot to one side. They offer a bit more support. I say it's again an area where you look at Lenny Yoro, maybe can identify the situation a bit better and see that it's Ahmad behind him. That's where the cross is coming. Step back, there's different ways the defense can organize to cover these things, because there's enough players on the pitch. There's enough defenders on the pitch to be able to help with crosses like that. So I think it's an organizational issue that they'll probably sort out over time and say, yeah, this is how we can do better on these types of crosses in the future. This is how we can make sure, because, there's games we've done well where you don't end up with Ahmad defending crosses in his own box, and that they'll have to sort out on the ground. But I think it's worth the risk with a player like Ahmad because he brings so much plus side the other way. You just sort it out at the back.
Jojo Dalot.
Yeah.
I'll leave it. I'll let you fill in the rest.
Yeah. I mean, with him, it's different for me because he's been doing this for years. We've seen this for years. It's the same story with him for years. He's been to me, like, I'm not want to pin the whole game on him or something like that. And I'm not even, it's not even, to me though, it's not even just the falling asleep thing and watching his man run behind him and pick up the goal. That's been happening for a long time. I don't have an answer to that. It's just lame. But there's a lot of other moments where I feel he's constantly not getting it in terms of when to be aggressive, when to stay. And it's been this way for a while. And I'm not seeing the plus. I'm not seeing anything that he's bringing to the table on the other side that makes it worth his defensive frailties, because he can't attack. He has no instincts for going forward either. And I don't want to be super over the top critical at this point. Like, I really don't.
Look,
but
it's all cost, no benefit.
It's bad, man.
It's all cost, no benefit, right? Yeah. So, you do a cost benefit ratio, the cost benefit, it's all cost, no benefit. I'm trying to understand, what would I lose if Jojo Dalot was to leave Manchester United today? What would I be lament that we're going to lose? What are we going to lose in him that is crucial to this team, or any particular strength? I don't know what he's being told in training. I have to believe that he's being given specific instructions, because there's no way I can explain some of his movement, some of his positional play, some of his decisions. But if you're a defender, we talked here about Ahmad. One of the things about a striker, anyone that's played forward most of their career, you can move and play in defense, but one thing that takes forever to develop is a radar, is the ability to sense danger, right? To perceive it 2-3 steps ahead. Strikers aren't doing that. They're doing the opposite. And when you're a defender, you're always at a disadvantage because you're always reacting to the attacker. So the attacker should always know what they're doing before the defender, and it's always, you always should be at a disadvantage as a defender. But you have to stay mentally switched on. That's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You can be poor at a lot of things, but you have to have awareness, because that can't be coached. Jojo Dalot looks like he hasn't got a thought in his head when that second goal goes in. Like, he was surprised as you and I was to find himself in that position. I felt like he was thinking about what film he watched last night, or, oh shit, I'm playing in a football. That is just unforgivable, because you're a liability at that point. You're playing everyone on side. You're switched off. And in that position, I'm expecting my defender to react in a way that senses there's immediate danger. Gave a goal away because he didn't want the ball as much as the attacker. That to me is unacceptable.
Yeah, exactly that. And those are the things that bother me. Is a lot of it, I think, is just stuff, like you say, that regardless of instructions, regardless of anything else, they're the types of just, it's obviously a mistake. Like, it's just obviously a player who's not focused, who's not in there in the moment. And we see that far too often. We've seen it with like I said, we've seen this for years with him. Unfortunately, there's the inability to stay focused in a game, and it's been something that I think we've seen with the team as a whole for a long time as well. That's been starting to get smaller and smaller and smaller, but it stands out, I think, even more at this point. Like, I feel like each week I'm sort of picking on Dalot a bit more, at each point in time. And I don't necessarily mean to, but it's because I'm not seeing that with other players as much as I used to. It's starting to narrow down to like, I don't look at anybody else on the pitch and say, oh, they're just not in it. They're not there. They're not focused. I don't feel like I have to make those comments anymore. It comes down to, it's almost always just him. And the oddity of it is during the games against Sunderland, even at the start of the winning run, there was a bunch of moments where you had Mount and Amarim from the sideline actively yelling at him specifically where to go, where to be, where to step and do all of that, because he just seems like he's not in the moment, not focused. And you have Mount screaming at him to get up the pitch, to step up, to back up the press, to do certain things. He's been subbed off early multiple times. And it was the same thing in that moment. There was a moment in the first half where he goes forward, passes the ball back to Bruno, and then just stands still. And Bruno hits the ball over the top, and he's like, what are you doing? Why aren't you making the run? And then the ball comes back the other way, and he's in the wrong spot again defensively. And there was a moment there where Amarim's yelling at him, and it's like, this is just being there in the moment, knowing what you're supposed to do and doing it. It is a focus issue, and he got subbed off very early again when very few subs got made. I think United looked a lot better with Dorgu again. Maybe Dorgu's being protected, but I think that Amarim's got to solve this, because if there's one thing I think here is he's got to figure this out. I for all of Dorgu, who's a young player who's growing, I don't think he made a mistake against Brighton in passing the ball. At one point in time, even though I still don't think the foul was fair in that respect that led to the goal. But overall, I think that we're going to get a lot more out of Dorgu. I don't see these moments where I feel like he's just not even on or in the game at all. And that would be my main, if only, critique of Amarim moving forward, is you're going to have to figure it out, because we're seeing this every week with Dalot. Even when we're winning, we're seeing it. And they got to figure that out. Because it's a while till January if we're trying to buy somebody. It's a while.
It's weird. It's bizarre how United have just so many problems trying to fill these positions. Obviously, the injuries to Mazraoui has been a big problem for United this season. Unexpected. Because he's such an important player for United whenever he's fit. Makes such an obvious difference. But that left wing-back position, James, how long have United had a problem in this position?
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't help when you're seeing a young lad who went to Real Madrid at the weekend, Alvaro Fernandez, of course, scoring an absolutely magnificent goal. But one thing, by the way, just a slight segue on that is often left out in that, appraisal of criticizing Ten Hag and what have you. And I'm not trying to exculpate Ten Hag in any way, but when Fernandez left to go to Granada, he couldn't get a game at Granada, right, until he went to Benfica. So it wasn't
the development path might have not quite been so smooth, but
it was the move to Benfica where that development happened. You look at that left wing back position. I want so bad to believe in Dorgu. I want to believe that he's one of the best young left backs in the world, and United are so lucky to have him. And here we have an answer to our long-term problems. I've never thought that with this kid. And I'm not criticizing, I'm not saying that I'm writing him off, but he hasn't convinced me yet, James.
Yeah, for sure, understandably. And I think if he had convinced, he'd be playing. And I think in an ideal world, Dorgu would be the backup, right? As a young player brought in, not for too much money. He'd be a player who gets a chance to develop behind a more senior player. The problem is, I don't think he's worse than the senior player playing right there right now, for sure. I think he's better than him, but then again, his faults will get hyperfixated and focused on and stand out more, because it's just a position where really, since Luke Shaw has stopped being fit for that role years ago when he was playing with Rashford, we've never had a nailed on starter. And then you're asking a young player to come into a situation where maybe he shouldn't, and we see a lot of similar patterns. I was saying to someone yesterday that I noticed with Cunha, a lot of the issues that Marcus had at United when Luke Shaw was injured and when we didn't have a left back. I looked positionally at where Cunha's playing, and he's constantly stuck really deep over on that left side, trying to pick the ball up off of there because there's not a lot of support. when he's attacking down the left, he's alone because there's no overlapping. There's no there's no support on that side. You look at Mbeumo on the other side, and Ahmad, that's the risk reward. Ahmad's always there. He's always in the buildup. He's always feeding him the ball. He's always running around the outside or cutting in or providing him so much for defenders to have to think about, where Cunha ends up 1-on-2 every game, every matchup. And so he's running all over the pitch to try to find spaces. We've seen this story with our left wing before when we didn't have a fullback. It starts to hurt. And I don't think Cunha's been bad at all, but I think he's, in terms of goals and assists, and he gets in these moments where he's trying to force it. I've seen this pattern before. And it's such an important relationship, the left wing back, and in this case even more so because it's a wing back, right? Not just a fullback. That relationship is really important for helping support that other forward. It's huge.
I think it's also an issue for Sesko.
For sure as well.
If we look at some of Højlund's moments where he looked like a United striker, coincided with Luke Shaw being fit. I think one of the most standard examples with this, I think it was Copenhagen away. I remember Shaw came back, ball straight across the box, Rasmus Højlund tap in. So I do exactly the same with Luton and everything, where Shaw Wolves away, Højlund, Shaw on the overlap ball across. A nice striker's getting balls from an overlapping fullback. Fullback wants to give you the ball. You're a striker. A winger doesn't. Winger's thinking about how to get inside and shoot. A fullback's looking for their forwards. So I think that position is so important. And James, this is not like a striker position today where you can understand it's difficult to fill. There's good left wing backs out there. And for some reason, United have just had a difficult time trying to fill that position and get someone of the requisite quality. Hopefully, that's something they look at in January, James, because to me, it's such an obvious position that would improve the team. But I want to also talk about Casemiro. Scores again at the weekend.
Yes. Casemiro,
just like Maguire, out of contract at the end of the season. Could this Manchester United team right now do without a Casemiro and a Maguire?
I think they're useful. I think they are useful players in that respect. I think that when you take both of them, you don't want. It's like it kind of is a two-way thing. You don't want to have an excuse, where in the past people have been like, well, we have them, so we're not going to buy players.
Yeah,
right? We're not going to replace them.
It's a different question. In a year from now, we ask you that question. I'm just saying, as right now,
No, they help. Right now, they're a net positive to the team right now. Absolutely, undoubtedly, they are. Casemiro is vital in many, many games right now, not just with the scoring, but the way that his game intelligence, things like that, how he defends and assists. And Maguire, as we've seen, there are many, many games when we struggled dealing with those aerial crosses. And I would have loved to have Maguire in that Forest game. Looking at it in retrospect, I think we don't concede either goal if Maguire's there. And we've seen that in games in the past. And yeah, I think right now they're net positive players that are better than what we have. Or give us something we don't have in some matchups. At the very least, we don't have, what they bring to the table.
Look, I agree. It's a different question as to whether that should result in a contract extension or prohibit United. This is as good as it's ever going to get with Casemiro, right? He's not all of a sudden going to find another gear, and there's more to get out of him. So you have to expect that output will diminish, and you need to be fair to him to not expect that. Whether he will even want to continue at this level for another year or two is another open question. He may not, but what those players have brought to United this season has been invaluable. With Casemiro, James, we talk about Bruno Fernandes being one of the only few successes in the market. If Casemiro walked away from United right now, you'd have to overwhelmingly say that he was a good signing, net positive. Yes, he had a period, under Ten Hag, at the end of Ten Hag, where it did not look good. But his response to that, and we're talking about a 5-time European Cup winner here, he could have walked out, got dropped from the Brazil team, everything, still responded the right way. Cunha, no surprise, he won the most fouls, 11. in that game. I won the most duels, 11, and also was the most foul player in the game. We're always tracking his contribution by his goal output, but that's a mistake.
Well, and that was kind of the point I was getting at with the last commentary on this, is that he's doing a lot. Like every game he's doing a lot, like sometimes too much, and it's kind of because he has to. And if you look at his position, he's like 20 yards deeper, 30 yards deeper on average, to use some American words there, but deeper than Mbumo is. Not to say Mbumo's not doing his job, because he is, but he's constantly having to pick it up off the back and try to dribble through traffic and do all of this. I'd like to see him be allowed to do less. I think the fullback would help with that. But no, Cunha for me has been really good most games. And it's hard for him to get output on that side because he is quite isolated over there in terms of the goals and assists, but he does a lot for the team. He does a hell of a lot for the team. And I don't want to discourage that in the slightest. I think it's something that should be is worthy of a lot of praise, because especially when you're not scoring, it's really, a lot of players, when you're not scoring, forwards, they don't want to do all that work when they're not scoring goals, to keep doing that work and keep fighting, even when you're not getting payoff. It goes under the radar. You're not going to see that out of Mo Salah and players like that when they're not getting the chances to
Strikers
score.
quench their thirst through goals, James. All the other stuff is great and all that there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you face when you wait. A striker would rather score a tap in and play shit than play really well and not score. But yes, Cunha reminds me a bit of Mark Hughes. Very similar to Hughes in the way he plays. I want to ask you about Ugarte, because it doesn't look like it's not looking great for him to me, James. What's your take on Manuel Ugarte?
Well, he doesn't use him when we're chasing goals. We've seen that in the past. We saw that last season as well. If he's not in the game, he will not sub him on when we're chasing goals. So yesterday, obviously trying to go for the win, chasing them. I'm back and forth, because recently I think he has played a bit more. He's been off in the first one on when we're protecting a lead to defend. He did against Liverpool, against Brighton. He didn't sub him on first. United concede goals really fast, and he gets him on like 5 minutes later to get on and break up play a little bit. Obviously, I think the jury's out on him. He's right now, he's not nailed down a midfield position as a starter in this team, and maybe as the fix, I think we're going to learn a lot the next couple of months. After this next break, especially, I think we'll learn a lot where players like him stand, some of these fringe players, him, Kobe, a few others, where they're not playing much now, but it's tough because it is really one game a week. The schedule's really light between, end of November and January. It's a much more intense run. You have AFCON, you have other things coming in. There's going to be games often every 4 days. And then you have, I think we'll see how much use some of these guys get. And I think they'll get a chance to stake their claim there. As of this point in time, the only reason I would say that he might not be leaving next summer is I just don't know how many midfielders are leaving, because it could be Bruno, it could be Casemiro, it could be Kobe. Ugarte, in some respects, is the most committed player in that midfield at the club, if you kind of get what I'm saying. Like, Casemiro's contract is ending. Kobe's kind of asking to leave. Bruno doesn't really give you a firm answer either way on what he wants to do, even though you sort of think he wants to stay still. They can't replace 4 midfielders in one summer, even if they wanted to. It's just not going to happen. So I think he'll get a chance to stake his claim. He's got to play better than he has, and we'll see if he can pull it off or not. I think, as of now, he's not been a success, but he'll get his chances in the next few months. I believe your microphone there.
Is it muted? Looks like
you're good now. You're good now.
I have to ask you about the corner. The controversy over the corner, because seems like there was a war crime committed. And apparently the fact that Forest couldn't score from their corners that were controversially given,
Not even controversial. Like, they kicked the ball straight off an offside player.
Yeah. All that happened was United got a dodgy corner. That's all that happened. What happened next is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right? How many dodgy corners, penalties? I mean, by the way, the
free kicks on cheap fouls, like, it happens. You get 10 set pieces a game on bad calls, let's say. 10 set pieces a game on bad calls. Are we and now it's like, oh, we got a VAR review corners. Do we have to VAR review every foul on the pitch now? Like, what is going to actually, where is this? Just because it's United, though, by the way. But, you know what? Not Ahmad getting kicked 5 minutes before that, by the way, and the ref completely missing it. Yeah.
But what I don't understand on that is why can't you apply goal line technology that stretches the corners, throw-ins? Like, that to me is a binary decision. VAR is subjective. Does the ball over the line or not?
Some sort of trigger, right? Like ball out, ball over the line, and then the ref blows the whistle when that happens every time.
It's 2025.
It pings the watch.
You know, Alexa knows every porn search I do. How is it not possible we don't have a piece of technology that can judge whether the ball is in or not?
Yeah, because they have the tech for the goal line. It goes to the watch. It shouldn't that just I mean, the goal line is the same line. It's the same line for a corner as it is for a goal. It's the exact same line on the pitch. Why doesn't it? I mean, I get it. You miss it. Why doesn't it just ping the watch every time the ball goes out of play? Every single time it just pings the watch. You would know if it's a goal. You would know if it's an out. You know if it's a throw. You know, it should be that simple and just take any discussion away from it. I still don't even think based on the camera angle we can even tell in terms of that corner whether it was or wasn't. Because we've only seen like one angled thing and it can be deceiving.
Yeah, and the thing is that even if it's not a corner, we're talking about 1/16 of an inch.
Yeah.
Fucking execute the linesman for not seeing that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you do for a living, but that's within the margin of error in my living, right? I mean, I'm not doing anything that precise.
Oh, for sure.
And so what exactly is correct? So I'm sorry, that's forgivable. If we cry about wanting the game back from technology, that's what it looks like. Human error. And if it is human error, it's 1/16 of an inch or 80. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a joke.
And you know, this is but I do love the subsequent meltdown over it. That is definitely something I enjoyed. Before we talk about the game this weekend against Spurs, I want to mention a couple of things about potential incomings this summer or in January. Sorry. One of the things that's been discussed is a potential move for Conor Gallagher from Atletico Madrid. Atletico don't want to do a long deal; they want to do a permanent deal. That was a deal United did try to do in the summer, something that they could revisit again in January. What do you think of that?
It's an interesting one. I'm not sure how to answer it in terms of my personal feelings on it. I really like it's very weird, but I really like Conor Gallagher. I know he comes from Chelsea as well. He's not the same player as Mason Mount, but there's similarities in that he's a player that has gotten a lot of praise by most coaches he's worked with, and because he's very industrious, works really hard, understands the game, very intelligent player, very high engine, all of that. He's quite combative. I don't quite get his position fit in that respect. Like, I don't think he's a player you play as a 6, like a Casemiro or something like that. That's my only question. I quite like him as an option to have in your squad. Conor Gallagher is a really nice player. He's only 25 years old too, which is kind of crazy. Like, he's quite young, but where does he play? He's got good attacking qualities. It kind of feels like he plays in Bruno's position. I kind of wonder, is this part of the phasing Bruno out type of idea moving forward, bringing in a player like him? Is it part of maybe allowing games for Bruno to go forward? Are you going to put him at wing back? Because I've been thinking about that too. But yes, they have been interested. Their main midfield targets, the guys you'd really want, like Elliot Anderson, who, by the way, was really, really good. He was exceptional. Not going to be available in January. There's like no chance of pulling those players out of their clubs in January. So you got to look to players like Gallagher, who you might want to go for. That's my only question. Where are they wanting to play him? Because I like him as a player. I'm just not certain why.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that is attractive to United, especially when they see the recent success of Cunha and Buemo, is this guy has Premier League experience.
Yes.
That is definitely something that's an adjuvant on your resume that makes you much more attractive these days. That's definitely something that it's a very important part of your resume now when you want to be signed by Premier League clubs. I mean, I don't mean to keep harping back to this, James, but when you look at players like Florian Wirtz, I mean, they look like they don't belong at this level. And he
it's like
obviously
shell
has to be,
shock. Yeah.
he obviously has to be an exceptionally technically gifted footballer. Bayern Munich wanted him too,
Yep.
but for whatever reason, he just is lost in a sea of mediocrity in the Premier League. Like, he just would never, if you were judging him on his Premier League performances, and this is really consistent with a number of players, to be fair.
Yep.
So that for some reason, the Premier League, it's always had unique characteristics and attributes. You've always had the English appreciate, physicality. They appreciate endeavor. There's certain cultural things that make Premier League some of its best attributes and some of its worst, because I don't think those help English clubs in Europe, but they can't play any other way. So that is something that's important, and that's where I think Conor Gallagher is attractive to United. And of course, the fact that Atletico Madrid, if they're willing to do a loan with an option to buy, I think that's something that could happen in January. If not, I think United will look at other players in January. All right, mate, let's take a look ahead to Spurs game this weekend. One of the clips that's circulating around social media is, of course, the Jed Spence, Mickey van der Ven, Black, Thomas Frank. One, I quite like Thomas Frank, so it sort of pissed me off a bit there. Like, he seems like one of the...
He's only been there a short time.
Yeah,
for players to be like
managers. What possibly could Thomas Frank do that would piss you off? But and I understand players. This is it's a volatile situation. Temperaments, things happen, but that was really disrespectful, James. And I think that is something that both of them should come out and apologize for. I hope United go there and take advantage of situations Spurs find themselves in.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Thomas Frank's a Premier League manager. He did a great job at Brentford for such a small club, getting them where he did. All of that obviously deserved that step up to Spurs. They're in a decent spot in the table. They haven't been amazing in terms of performances, but it is weird, the disrespect from some players in there to him. I mean, it is very, very odd culturally wise in the dressing room, why something that would be happening 10 games into a new manager's tenure, especially one who's, as we know, is a very experienced hands-on coach who's been in England for quite a long time. It's not like he's like some guy coming in from another country that wouldn't understand football, the Premier League, or could even have some kind of huge issue there, in a game like that.
I hope United players are going to Spurs still angry over the Europa League final.
Correct. I mean, United lost 4 games to Spurs last year in all competitions.
Yeah, I hope United, exactly. But more than anything, that's a game United should have won. And I hope it still bothers them that they look back and go, we should have won that game. We need to never forget the tweets and all after the Europa League final. Go there and give me a response. Yeah, because we've seen performances here in the past that just have been nowhere near good enough. Go to Spurs and show that we're in a different position now, and put some manners on them.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I want to see. I want to see them have that mentality of going for, revenge and all of that and stepping up. I mean, we know that we've seen them do it, Liverpool and these games here recently, but 100%, it's the right time to get at Spurs as well. They haven't been amazing. Performances have been suffering pretty badly right now. They're not creating a lot of chances. They're not scoring a lot of goals. They were just as bad as United in the league last season. So you can get them. And it's a game they should be looking at as an opportunity to just bounce back from a minor setback and really go for it. But it would be another one that I think would show, like you said, because we lost the Europa League final to them and should have won that game, to show we've changed, that we are improving, that we bounced back from a bad defeat that we had to them, and we can go and get them now. I think it would be a big one, especially before this international break. We've ended each time so far, win against Burnley, win against Sunderland before the breaks, with a good result that has pushed us forward, and we kind of need that going into these breaks, and it's because it's then it's full throttle from there on till January. You need some momentum. Right now is the right time for it.
Yeah, it'd be massive, James. They could get a win against Spurs this weekend.
Yep.
The contrast between the previous international break and this one, massive. I think United would go into this international break with momentum, with confidence that will still be there 2 weeks from now. So big game this weekend. And I don't think United will lose it, no matter what happens. I don't think we're sitting here next Monday talking about a defeat. I don't see that happening. I think it's a very, very winnable game. All right, James, I think we'll leave it there, mate. Thanks to all of you for all your downloads, likes, retweets, follows, everything. I hope you're all doing well, physically, mentally, everything else. Thanks for all your support. Jamesy, all the best, mate. See you next week.
Yes, see ya.
All right, brother. See ya. Bye, folks.